Oh, hey, Jill here, and you're listening to Organized Chaos with Jill. I'm your host and mom of three, and this is the show where we chat all the mom things and then some. So grab your coffee or whatever it is that gets you through the day, and let's get to it. Welcome to episode 6. So last week we talked about mom guilt. That big, heavy feeling that literally weighs on every mama out there. Many times, there's more than one version of mom guilt floating around your head at a time. It happens a lot. It's totally normal, like I said. But in making that episode, I shared kind of stuff going on with my life. I got a little emotional. It got a little deep. We got a little personal, which I love to do because I'm using this platform to get to know you and share stories and build that connection with my listeners. But that being said, I wanted to kind of shake things off a little from the seriousness and switch it up this week. So I wanted to talk about something a little bit more fun, creative, at least I think fun and creative. So this week we're diving into family traditions. And it's funny because I never really thought about family traditions that I had when I was growing up as a family tradition until I really started thinking about having my own family and things that I wanted to do with my kids and my family. And I remember thinking, when I got pregnant with James, that I had to plan what my family traditions were going to be. There I go again. I've shared many times with you guys, I am a planner. That's my mindset. And so I think that, in that moment, I was like, what are we going to do? We're going to make this day annual, whatever day, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, you don't need to go about family traditions that way. No matter how old your kids are, family traditions are a great thing to just get together, connect with one another, share stories, bond, whatever you want to call it, and really build memories together. And yes, you can certainly start family traditions when your child is born, you have an infant, but if you have small kids like me, or even if your kids are older, you can still start traditions, right? Especially as they get older and enter different seasons of life. People are going into high school for the first time, college for the first time. Maybe, you have a child that's already graduated college, now entering the real world, a new season of life. These are ways you can still start to build different traditions or maybe change some of the traditions that you already currently have in place. So, it's just a fun thing to think about. And like I said, a fun way to just get together and create memories. Now, before I dive into sharing some of the traditions that I grew up with as a child, some of the traditions that we've now created with our family and whatnot, let's first talk about the different types of family traditions there are. And I'm going to be honest, when I first started thinking about family traditions, in my mind, I always thought that it had to be something big, something extravagant, an annual family vacation to Disney World, an annual cruise, something big. And boy, was I mistaken, right? In a great world, I would love to be able to have these extravagant, exclusive vacations annually, but sometimes that's not always the case, and that's totally okay. And it's not the only type of tradition that there is. There are holiday traditions. I think this is probably the most common when people think of traditions, doing things around whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, things like that. This tends to be where I think traditions kind of come about. And this is kind of how I started thinking about family traditions just because of how I grew up. Like I said, I'm going to share my traditions a little bit later into the episode. But there's holiday traditions. There's also seasonal traditions, depending on maybe you're going back to school season. And that's kind of where we're in right now, right? It's the middle of August, kind of the end of August, realistically. Summer flew by. So a lot of people are, if they haven't already gone back to school, are going back to school. And so there's a lot of back to school traditions people have. For example, I have a friend that the night before school starts, they always did a make your own pizza. And the kids would put the toppings to reflect whatever grade they were going into. So going into ninth grade, you'd put a 9 in pepperoni or something. And that's dinner for the night, which is also kind of fun, two birds, one stone. I always thought that was really kind of a cool idea. I have also seen back to school traditions where a child that might be starting like preschool or kindergarten has this like giant t-shirt on them that's like class of, whatever. And it's whatever year they're going to be graduating high school or college. And they take a photo with that same shirt every year. And obviously it's a gigantic shirt on them when they're going into preschool, but as they get older and they're growing, they're starting to fill out the shirt a little bit more. So that's also a really cute seasonal tradition that I've seen. I mean, maybe you do it and that's so cute. I love seeing those online. So please keep posting if that's something you do. There's also kind of weekly spontaneous traditions that come up. It could be honestly as simple as like Taco Tuesday. That's a big thing, right? People go to trivia nights, things like that are traditions. And it's something like that is the spontaneous ones that sometimes end up being like the most fun or the most meaningful because it is that weekly connection that you guys have and get together. So that's awesome if you have those, right? So really, like I mentioned, there's so many types of family traditions. It's not just this big annual extravagant thing that I think there's a misconception of, at least for me there was, and I hope I'm not the only one. But that being said, I now want to take a minute to dive in to talk about my own personal traditions that I had. So a big one for me is when I was growing up, Christmas Eve, I always got pajamas to wear to bed, and that came from Santa's elf. Now, this was long before Elf on the Shelf came about, but it was something where in my family, no gifts were under the tree until Christmas morning. It doesn't matter if it was from my parents. It didn't matter if it was from a family friend that sent them from out of town. Nothing was under the tree until Christmas morning. And we would be getting ready on Christmas Eve to go out to our family's Christmas party. And all of a sudden, a box would magically appear under the tree. And I remember being so excited, so confused. Like, how did that get there? What do you mean? And it was, the pajamas to wear to bed that night. And it was such a fun tradition for me. This is something that my parents did, through high school, college, even into adulthood. And it ranged. I eventually got like sweatsuits and just like comfy baggy sweatpants to wear, but still comfy lounge clothes are a win no matter what, right? So this particular tradition I've actually passed down to my kids, and this is something that we now do, which is super, super fun. So I love that. And other than that, I think for us, like on Thanksgiving, we always would go to one of my aunt's house. My mom, I remember, was like responsible for, I swear, cooking like almost all the sides and about 7 different pies. And it was just chaos in our kitchen, but it was something fun, her cooking. It wasn't really a tradition I took part in. I ate, right? But I didn't do the cooking or anything like that. But nonetheless, it was still a tradition in that sense. And now, with our own family, with my husband and my kids, we've started traditions. Like I said, with the Christmas, Santa's elf giving pajamas Christmas Eve. That's something I have now passed on to my kids, which is something else that's really cool about family traditions. You can pass them on, and it's really cool to see. And I imagine it'll be really cool once my kids are older, and hopefully I'm still there, to see them pass traditions on to their kids. Although I'm still freaking out thinking about my kids getting older. I'm still freaking out that Anna is almost a year old, right? I'm in denial. But yeah. So for us, when I started thinking about the traditions that we have, yes, we do a trip kind of annually. And this is something that I don't think we initially thought was going to be a tradition, but as I'm thinking about it, has become one. When James was just 6 months old, we took a road trip to West Virginia. Last summer, we took that epic road trip, that I shared in one of the earlier episodes of this podcast. And then even this year, though we didn't go on a crazy far road trip, we just went to New Hampshire. It was kind of more local, I would say. It was still a little getaway. So we are finding every summer a way to go away in some sense of the word, right? And so that's kind of become a tradition for us. Then I started thinking about things that we do weekly. And realistically, Sundays are a tradition day for us, I guess you would call it. So Sundays is one of the very few days that my husband has off of work. It's his guaranteed day off no matter what. And so it's a day that we're definitely going to have time together with the family. And one Sunday, he got up, made breakfast for us. And ever since then, it's just become Sunday mornings, Pa makes breakfast. And it sounds silly, but like I said, those spontaneous, little traditions that come about are sometimes the most fun and the most memorable. And, the kids have a small table that they typically eat at. We put it to the end of our kitchen table that we eat at. And, we eat our breakfast as a family. And it's just fun. And I can't wait to add a chair for Anna when she's eating real solids like that. I still end up having to feed her a little bit before we eat because she's on such a schedule with when she's hungry, right? But that's something. And then later in the day on Sundays has become Sundays with Grandma and Grandpa. And this is another thing that kind of randomly started because we would sporadically spend Sundays with them because, again, that was my husband's day off. And then it became just frequent. Every Sunday was pretty much we go to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And in the winter, it's nice because my father-in-law loves to have fires going for days at a time. So it's really cozy. In the summer, they live on the lake, so it's nice. We get to go out in the water. We get to enjoy the boat. It's just really fun little getaway without going too far, right? And it's something that the kids look forward to. I mean, they're old enough to know kind of the routine in a sense. So it's wait, are we going to Geepa's house? Are we seeing Grandma and Grandpa? Sometimes my sister-in-law will come with the kids, my brother-in-law. And so, we see other family as well. And it's just really fun. That being said, before I kind of wrap up the episode, I want to talk about making a family tradition, even those spontaneous weekly ones. I think the key thing is keeping it consistent. And yes, there are some Sundays we don't go to Grandma and Grandpa's. They were just on vacation. This upcoming Sunday, we actually have an event to go to, so we won't be going there, but it's okay if you miss one or two. It doesn't mean it's not a tradition, right? So think about that, but also as you're creating these traditions or thinking about your own traditions, try to be consistent, and it's something to look forward to each week or each year or each month, however you want to go about it. So yeah, those are kind of the family traditions that we have as a family that I had growing up. And then the last, it's weird calling it a tradition, but I think in a way it is a tradition. And maybe this little next piece of info that I'm going to share, it might help or resonate with you in some way. As I mentioned last week in my episode about mom guilt, I lost my father in 2008. And every year on the anniversary of his passing and his birthday, it's not that it gets easier, but it does get easier for lack of a better term. But I still want to figure a way to kind of honor my dad, think about my dad, have a memory of him. And so my dad's drink of choice was Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, right? And I don't really like that beer. I'm not a huge fan. But when it is his birthday or the anniversary of his passing, I tend to just grab a 6-pack and do have a drink with him, pour one out, toast it up to my dad and just honor in his memory. And when I was pregnant, I did it with Coca-Cola because that was the other thing. He was always had a Coke in his hand. So that's kind of my own little tradition, as you would say. Maybe not a family tradition, though my husband, does take part with me. And unfortunately, my husband never got to meet my dad. So it is a little bit touching in a way that he shares that with me. And when we got engaged, actually, we went to lunch at one of the local restaurants we like to go to. And I ordered a Miller High Life, and we kind of toasted to my dad so he could kind of celebrate our engagement with us. And so I thought that was really sweet of my husband to do. And it was just something, to commemorate such a big day for me and honor my dad in that sense. So yeah, those are my traditions. I'm sure if I sat here and dove deep, I could probably think of a few more, but those are kind of our real frequent ones. And so just kind of recap that there are many, many types of family traditions, holiday traditions, seasonal traditions, annual traditions, weekly traditions, whatever. And to remind you guys that it doesn't matter the age of your children. It doesn't matter what season of life they're in. It is never too late to start creating new traditions. And I think, and this is something that I'll probably do as the kids get a little bit older, a fun way when you're thinking about new family traditions is incorporate the kids, right? What did they want to do? What did they like to do? As, like I mentioned, if they're in their high school phase, they just started or just starting college, what are some new things that maybe they want to get into? And maybe you can do that with them and start a new tradition together. So think about that. That'd be pretty cool. And then also, I would love to hear from you. I want to know what traditions you guys have. So comment on this episode, send us an email. Comment on Instagram, whatever, share. I would love to hear what family traditions you have. Who knows? Maybe I might snag some ideas from you. Maybe you guys can snag some ideas from what I shared. But yeah, I know this is also a shorter episode than just by a little bit, but a shorter episode than typical. Not because this isn't a topic that's important and that I could keep talking about by any means, but there's just a lot happening right now, and I'm going to be totally transparent with you guys because that's what this is all about. We're friends. So it's been a busy week. Part of, last week's episode has how I shared we're moving things out of my mom's house, and it's just been chaotic, but I did not want to let a week go by without sharing something with you guys, without hopping on here and connecting with you. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that maybe the gears are grinding and you're starting to think about traditions, or maybe thinking about starting new family traditions. And so that was kind of my hope for this episode. And like I said in the beginning, just a fun, lighthearted, creative episode to not really be too deep, just have a little bit of fun. Maybe you're just on your drive going to get your coffee and whatnot. But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day. Be sure to like, follow, and share this podcast. And if you aren't already doing so, follow us on Instagram at Organized Chaos with Jill. We'll have all the latest updates, upcoming episodes, and more. Have a good day. The best is yet to come.